everybody. I'm Marla Schultz, and this is Flip the Switch. I am so excited about this show because I have a special guest star. Her name is Sarah Angel. She is a singer, songwriter, pianist, internationally renowned performer, and she's my friend. And I am so thrilled to have her on the show. Sarah, how are you? It's so good to see you.
I'm doing so good, and I'm really excited to see you because the last time I saw you was on a cruise ship, and this is like, I'm seeing you now, and I'm just like, I just want to start laughing and telling you everything that's going on.
I want to tell everybody that you're coming out with a new album called the Surrender Album, and that's going to be dropping this January, correct?
I'm advertising over Sirius XM radio to about 8 million people, so I'm really thrilled about that. I wrote it to God, so I pray a lot about it and just kind of put it in his hands. But anyway, yeah, I'm super excited. I'm thrilled.
Okay, you mentioned that we met on the cruise ship and we were working NCL, and I have to tell everybody, you blew me away. You do the Howl at the Moon, which is a dueling piano.
So we do like a 4.5 hour show. Sometimes goes a little bit longer, and it's 4 nights a week. It's 3 people, so it's kind of nice. Like you get your rotation and you get a little bit of a break. I remember when I started years ago, and I started working on ships, I was a solo piano bar entertainer on Holland America, and you know, Holland America is basically known as God's waiting room.
Hilarious. Yes.
And we were doing like 7 nights a week, and that was really intense and crazy and fun also because it was my first time working on a lot.
Explain the difference between being an entertainer, guest entertainer, and being the crew.
For NCL, I did the guest entertainer as well, which means on both of those, you don't have port manning, you don't have to be part of the crew, and it's a lot more fun, I guess, because, you know, you can kind of go to all the shows.
And eat in the normal dining rooms instead of the crew mess.
Yes. So yeah, I've been really lucky to kind of work in these really fun shows and meet people like yourself. I remember when you came on, I really loved your New York, you know, sense of humor, and I had a lot of fun at your shows. We both talked about how the audiences on cruise ship is like so hit and miss.
Yes.
Sometimes because of the way that the humor kind of hits them and like bounces, it kind of just goes somewhere else sometimes. So we've both had experiences with that. But yeah, no, I've had a lot of fun on ships and met like some really amazing entertainers like yourself.
What I loved about the ship is we met and there was like an instant connection. And I know you're very spiritual, and I love that you wrote this album, you know, and you're giving it over to God and whatever higher power. I truly believe in all that. But to connect on such a level, it was like, oh my God, she's one of me, I'm one of you. And it was like, we just got down to brass tacks, is what my grandma used to say. But it was so nice because, first of all, you were a giant comfort. I mean, I should not be working on the ships. And I was in my like crazy head. I was so seasick. And I remember you so seasick where I thought I was going to vomit on stage. And the critic was off and running and driving the show. Stephanie, she was in the musical review, and I was out with her and her husband, and I would put on my glasses because I was so nervous because I would just get these strange looks from like some of the passengers and like middle-aged women. So we were sitting there after your show having drinks, and somebody came over and said something to Stephanie. Oh my God, I love your show. She was like, thank you. And her husband goes, oh, this is Marla. She's the comedian. And she said, oh, I saw your show. And at that moment I was like, knocking on your, Sarah, you up? And then boom, we were hanging out, eating, going out and partying. I was so grateful to meet you, and your talent is off the charts.
Oh, thank you.
Off the charts.
You know, it's the same for all performers. I mean, when you go out there, you expose yourself, your soul. You're telling people, hey, here I am, and then people are like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
They're like, what? And that happens to every performer. And the way that my faith helps me a lot is I'll just pray my way through that, because I'm just like, and everyone has a different way that they deal with that, right? But it's really hard when you put yourself out there and you're putting everything on the line and you're like, it's me, here I am. And they're
Right.
like, I saw your show, and you're like, what what is wrong with you? I loved your show. I had such a good time. And I remember the first time we met, we were like, I don't know if we even met, but we were in the auditorium when they we got on the ship the same day, I think.
You were on before me, and I was on for 14 days. And again, monkey brain was just like, and I was working with this other comic. And
I remember.
Yeah, these two comics like weren't friendly. And he's like, I'm not your whatever. And I said, okay, that's not, I'm not like needy that way. Go ahead, have a good time. And that was the first time I ever worked with two comedians. One was kind of a loner, nice guy. And then this other one was, I'm not your buddy, or I'm not your dinner partner. I said, oh. Then I met you, then I met Justino, and then I was hanging out with the Switch, the cover band.
I love Switch, man. They are so talented. They're a really phenomenal band.
Incredible. I think that everybody is.
Man, and that is one of my favorite things, I guess, about working on ships. Is the level of talent. You would just not believe it. I mean, I know that cruise ship patrons, that the passengers go on and they expect to be wowed, and they don't really know what they're getting half the time. Ships, you get these really talented, incredible entertainers.
Right. We're putting their heart and soul into their performances, and many of like the singers and the dancers in the Broadway reviews are in these tiny, they have to share their cabins. Whereas you and I were like, had our own
cabin. Yeah. No, that was really fun. You were down the hall from me. You were right next door almost.
2 doors. The loner comic was between us, and you were like, oh, we can get food delivered. I was like, food delivered. I remember it was like the pizzas, and magician Matt Johnson. That was so much fun.
You and I went to the spa. I just remember we would go to the spa, and I would
sneak you in. I was like, follow my lead, baby girl. Let's go. Because that was the only place, like I just had to sweat out all the salt, and it was a way it was like self-preservation for me, just to go in and sweat and just get away from everybody. But that to me that's magic.
Really helped, I think, with your seasickness too.
Oh my God.
You were
sailing so sick. It was bizarre, but we kept on hitting bad weather, and I would open up the curtain at the port, and look out the porthole, and I would just see like the waves were crashing on because that was like the water line. We were on deck 8, I think it was. And hearing the lapping and then feeling it just, I don't know, it was crazy for me. I want to talk about your background. And you grew up in Seattle. You were homeschooled. I was like, homeschooled. I never met anybody that was homeschooled. And you said something about like you would wear long dresses, I remember, or long. So explain that, because I found that so fascinating.
I had very unique parents. They both struggled growing up. They really, really loved music, both of them, and they wanted to be musicians. And they never got that opportunity as children. And for some reason, this was just this shared passion that they had. They came together. They both loved God. They wanted to have, good kids. That was something that they just said that to us like our whole life. We just want good children. We just want good kids. It's just so funny. They're both gone now, and like I just
sorry.
No, that's okay. I just have the funniest, best memories. Like, there's so many jokes in our family between the 6 of us kids with the things that they would tell us. there's 6 of us all together, 5 siblings that I have. Yeah, came together. They had 3 kids, and I was second of those 3. And then they wanted one more. They were going to have one more kid, and then they had triplets.
Amazing.
So they had 6 kids, and then they decided, well, we're going to homeschool our children and make them all learn instruments. And so they did. Really, I mean, they cared about our studies. Like, we did our studies, we had a curriculum, we did all these things. And Washington has like standardized testing. So we had to, my mom would always like buckle down right before those tests.
Oh, she would be cramming. Come on, kids.
Yeah, she would get the whip out, why didn't you do your English? And I'm like, you're the teacher, anyway. So we all took private lessons for like 4 or 5 different instruments.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, every single one of us. Our practice schedules were crazy. I practiced piano in high school for about 5 hours a day. That was required.
Wow.
But I still practice on Sunday because I had started winning competitions. I played piano for hours and hours and hours a day, and I practiced for fun, like, and probably because I had nothing else to do. I mean, we were literally just
It sounds like it was the Von Trapp family,
Oh my word. Okay, this is the worst part, Marla. We had the Angel Family Band because our last name's Angel. We had the Angel Family Band. My mom made us, she literally dragged us to the mall at Christmas. I was a piano accompanist. Worst part of my life. I don't even want to I just remember getting ready for these like Angel Family Band shows.
Like the Partridge Family. Did you have a band with the Angel Family Band on the side?
Okay, this is even worse.
I'm sorry for bringing up these bad memories.
You're gonna die. So we had a 15-passenger massive van that we had bought from a car dealership that had gotten it from a hospital. So
you had the
so you
alerting everybody.
No, not that bad. You could still see the imprint of Harrison Hospital on the side. And we would drive around like this big family, this Harrison Hospital van. Just imagine this mother of 6 who's just like crazy and unstoppable, like on her computer, like making these like little word clip out posters of like Angel Family and concert. And then like printing them out at Office Depot. I mean, this is like in the night. I mean, we didn't have a choice. We were very good kids. We obeyed, because if we didn't, we got in trouble. We had social outlets. Thankfully, we were involved in sports. I actually played a lot of soccer, and we were very nerdy. I mean, we were part of lots of orchestras and bands. We were in like several youth symphonies. My mom ran a youth symphony. She was a violin teacher herself. A lot of my siblings are professional musicians, and my brother Tim, actually, he's a concert violinist. He's a teacher, a professor, Dr. Timothy Angel at the Arlington University. So, I mean, it's in our family, and I was forced into it. But I really, I was telling you, when I was 18, 17, I won a bunch of concerto competitions, which you don't want to win a bunch of them. You want to win one. Because you have to learn the concertos, the whole thing, once you learn. So it was a little bit of a disaster, but it worked out. I played with a couple different symphonies as a high schooler, and it was a pretty neat experience. And that's kind of my background in music. And then at 18, I was like, screw this, I'm getting out of here. That was like my whole world and my whole life is someday when I can stop music. That was in my head, someday when I'm allowed to quit music, because we weren't allowed to quit.
Talk about just the discipline that your parents instilled in you. Didn't you like run off to Vegas? Was that you? And you were young?
I can't believe I told you that story. I did run away. I bought a Greyhound bus ticket and ran away from home when I was 14. And I really seriously had like these big dreams of I don't know what my dream was, to go to public school. How funny is that? Like
Wow.
that was my big dream. I was going to run away and go to public school.
My dream was to run away from public school. I was always cutting out and signing myself out. So that's interesting. That was what you wanted.
Look back at like what I was thinking I would be, you know, to what I am now. Like I had these big dreams and they were like really silly.
So you ran away to Vegas at 14. And some like man intercepted and helped you.
Okay.
Like an angel.
Yeah, I really did feel like that. I mean, I still feel to this day that I was very protected because I was very, very naive. I mean, we're talking about like a very protected, homeschooled, very happy kid. I mean, I was definitely going through that rebellious phase, but I was really protected and I didn't know how good my life was. And so I got a bus ticket, and on the bus I was sitting next to this girl who I was 14, she was 17, and she was a stripper. You know, I was like on my own. I was this newly free woman. I mean, in my head, you know, I thought I was starting this crazy, amazing life now. And I was like, I don't want to do that. You know?
Right. Is that what I have to do? Right. To support myself?
She's like, it's fine. You just work, you do it for a little bit and make some good money. And then, you know, and I was like, oh my word, you know, this is like my first interaction with the world, I guess. There were these two guys, they were in the military. They were going across country. They wanted to know my story. They just kind of talked to me and asked me questions.
Wait, were they on the bus with you, or was this when you got off the bus?
No, they were on the bus. And then they kept telling me like, don't you think you should go home?
Wow.
I bet your parents really miss you. I bet they really are scared about you. And when I was in this bus depot, and I was just like waiting for my next leg of my trip to continue on this glamorous trip, you know.
Oh, I know. Do I have to be a stripper? Should I keep going?
Right. I was trying to figure out how I was going to stretch. I had like $200 that I had saved from like silly. I mean, my mom paid me to piano accompany for her students. So
wow.
I had all this money. Yeah. So he's like, I think you should go home, and here's a phone card. You need to call your mom. Your mom's probably really worried. And right then, it was like within 10 minutes after that happened, I heard my name over the PA that somebody was calling, looking for me.
Wow.
And that was like the first time I like legitimately, I think, really respected my mom. Like she was calling bus stations. She was calling hospitals. She was calling anywhere in the country that she could call. And when I saw that, you know, it really changed my heart, and it touched me that she, you know, because she was very busy. And I think that I misconstrued her hard work and her ethic and all the things she was doing for like not caring about me.
Interesting. Isn't that?
She was just so like, we gotta go, time to go. I mean, we just had these things. We never missed these lessons. We never missed our practices. We never, you know. So anyway, it was really amazing that nothing happened to me. I mean, I went back home and everything worked out, and I never ran away again. And I still, when I graduated from high school, I was like, I'm getting out of music. And then went right back into it. I mean, the minute I got a degree in communications from a private college, and I was like,
oh, so you went to college. They didn't homeschool you for your degree.
No, that was also part of like, right. Well, they probably would have if they had, but I was literally like, I'm an adult, I'm leaving.
You said you play 5 instruments, and I know you play piano. What are some of the other instruments? And do you still play them today?
Yeah, so I took cello for about 5 years. I was so relieved. My cello teacher moved, and my mom did not make us find a new one. I play guitar. I learned guitar, and then I always count voice as an instrument because
sure.
I took voice lessons for about 8 years, and it changed my voice completely. For anybody out there who's just wondering if voice lessons work, I mean, you go to the right teacher, you can literally change your entire voice. I mean, it was really amazing, the change that I went through. And then I took harmonica lessons, Marla. You would die if you were a fly on the wall in those lessons. It is literally, they're like yelling at you. They're like, suck, suck, blow. Anyway, that's basically the gist of a harmonica lesson.
That's funny because one of my girlfriends, when experimenting, you know, coming into age and dealing with boys, that was the instruction she gave me, not to play the harmonica, but, you know, but I took violin, and my violin teacher, this guy, Mr. McCune, and I played in the all district orchestra. I hated him because he didn't have a sense of humor, and he thought I was such a rebellious little pain in the ass with a stupid little haircut. And I hated him. And I walked up to him and I thought, I'll get him. And I go, Mr. McCune, I'm quitting violin. Today's my last day. And he went, thank you. There is a God. And I was shocked because it totally backfired. My plan totally backfired. Anyway, so you're 18 and you're playing, you know, you could be a self-contained orchestra. When did you start traveling the world? Because I have huge wanderlust.
I think maybe it's because we were homeschooled and we were just like kept inside and we didn't, you know, maybe that's what it was. But I always wanted to travel. I mean, that just kind of happened really. That just felt normal to me. I mean, it felt like I needed to get out and I need to see the world. And
sure,
I think that may have been part of me running away because I wanted to do things. I wanted to get out instead of just like practicing all day or something. Anyway,
yes.
One of the things I had wanted to do as a little kid is go on a missions trip. And they had told me I could go on a missions trip when I was 18. Well, they dialed back a little bit. They said, look, if you really want to go on this missions trip, I had wanted to go to the Ukraine.
Interesting.
There was a lady that came to our church. She took groups of people, young, like high schoolers, to the Ukraine to work in these camps for orphan children in the Ukraine.
Yeah, but let me ask you why. I've been to the Ukraine. I celebrated a birthday there, but I was there like a year to the day before Chernobyl exploded. And you don't hear a lot of people say, you know, I wanted to go to the Ukraine. So what was it about the Ukraine?
So I was really young when I first met this lady, and she just took groups of high schoolers there once a year to the Ukraine to befriend and bond with other kids that were orphans there. And and you know, I kind of latched onto the idea. I love the pictures she showed. I talked to her whenever she came to our church, and she would do these like potluck dinners and show her slides and everything. So when I was 16, I went, and my parents they loosened up. They let me go on a missions trip. I raised like $2,400 through my church, and I did all these, like, I made like pies and stuff.
Oh, how cute.
I did like everything to raise this money. And then I went to the Ukraine, and then I went the following year. So I went twice.
Wait, how long were you in the Ukraine, and didn't the food suck?
Oh, there was just like a lot of potatoes and borscht. I had borscht. So much potatoes. I mean, I actually like beets, so I didn't think it was terrible, but we were there for
every day though.
Right, every day. Oh man, they are so creative with their potatoes. I mean,
yes.
Every single meal there's potatoes. Oh, we went to a Mexican restaurant in Kiev. That was a trip. Oh my word.
Really?
Oh, you would have laughed your butt off. Like, it is like, there was like, the servers were wearing like, it was like what you would imagine.
Like a Pancho Villa?
Right. It was, the server had like a fake parrot on his shoulder. Dos vidonia!
Yes. Druzhba, everybody.
Right? Hola! You know, it was just stupid.
No, wouldn't it be like hola? Nyeh. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like the tag on hola,
done
you know,
that.
hola, nyeh, dos vidania. Ugh.
Yes.
Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So we were there for a month each time, and then we also went to London.
You didn't go to Moscow?
No, we didn't go. I didn't go to Russia actually until I was working on the ships. But no, we were just in Kiev, and we stopped in London both times on the way there.
One of my favorite cities. I did a whole semester there. I loved it.
So beautiful. And
Yeah.
honestly, that was it for me. Like
That's where the bug was. That's where you got bit
Oh.
by the wanderlust bug.
I was just sold. I was like, I have to go everywhere in the whole world. I actually said that. I said, I'm going to go everywhere in the whole world. That's what I want to do. After college, I was just working. I was like trying to convince myself I was, supposed to be like in the corporate world. And I've
After years and years of being your own one-woman band, why do you want to go in corporate?
I know. Well, I didn't know that. I was just so mad at my parents for, keeping me indoors and practicing my piano and,
Wait, that was your FU to your parents? It's homeschooling and me being a virtuoso, because I truly think you are. I'm going to go work for Bell Atlantic or like the phone company.
No, that was like
Hilarious.
my screw off. That was like, I'm going to be a big corporate star and blah, blah, blah. And the minute I really got into it, I was like, this is horrible.
Horrible.
And I'm not saying, I'm sure there's other people, it's wonderful and amazing for them, but for my personality, for me, it was horrible.
Right.
So I started working at a piano bar in downtown Seattle, Pioneer Square.
We were there last summer. Was it last summer?
Oh, you were in
Pioneer Square? Not this past summer, because this was like COVID lockdown. I love Seattle. I've performed in Seattle. I love Seattle. It's a beautiful, beautiful. It was the summer of 2019. Yes.
Oh, and I love the comedy. The comedy
is great.
It's really good. The comedy clubs, I've been to all of them. They're really fun. Actually, the one in Pioneer Square is it's about probably 100 feet from.
But let me ask you, getting back to the cruise ships, we're doing a little time travel.
Oh, I love it.
Were you on a ship when all the Corona stuff went down, and was your ship affected? Really? And where were you?
We were doing this Caribbean run, and I don't know, all the islands blend together.
Sure. Don't they? Have you ever tallied up? I have been to so many, like Roatan. Somebody's like, where were you? Roatan. I'm sorry. Did you just say Roatan? All I know from Roatan was I had a sloth on my head, and the guys from Switch said, oh no, you got to go check this out. And I was like, why do I want a big with the hooven climbing on me? I was like, why did I just pay $40 to do this with the risk of this thing taking a shit on my head? You know what I'm saying? It's amazing.
I did the sloth thing too.
So you were on a ship when Corona went down.
Yeah. So it was like the middle of March.
Okay.
Or it was like maybe the beginning of March when everything started getting really weird and bad.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't know what was going to happen.
Let me ask you, were you paying attention to it? Like, were people starting to talk about it?
I really didn't have the right mindset towards it. My mindset was like, this is overblown, and like
I've been through what is it? The norovirus, where people.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, it's like any other illness. You could die from it, or you could, anyway.
Have to washy. You got to washy your hands.
Yeah,
washy.
Everything is on a ship, so it's like washy. So on ships, it's already kind of, you can go to a level 5 in, health.
That means
security, like overnight, if somebody gets, a stomach bug and, and it spreads quick on a ship if things aren't taken care of. So they have really, really high standards. People don't realize how it's cleaner than a hospital, honestly, on a ship.
Absolutely.
So,
Constantly
so clean.
cleaning.
Constant. And this is before anything, before
Right.
Corona. This is just the way it is. So I was on the ship, and I think the thing that really made it serious to me, and it was they stopped letting the crew buy coffee at the Starbucks. And I threw a baby fit, Marla. I literally went to like the
You needed your mocha choca waka laka
did.
every
I went
day.
to the cruise director's office, and I sat in his office and cried like alligator tears. And I was like, I need my coffee. I need it. And it didn't help anything. I'm a guest entertainer. I need my coffee, you know.
But that's so weird that that's what they like. That was the start of like
that was the start. And it was really, it really bothered me. I mean, I've let it go to some degree, but you can tell it still bothers me.
Yes, Sarah, you got to let that go.
I'm such a coffee person, and I needed my coffee, and I was just like, why is that? That's not helping anybody. They told all entertainers, even guest entertainers, on across the board, all on the whole ship. They said, you can't eat in the garden anymore. You have to go to the
Ew.
Yeah.
Ew.
And that's
I would have pretended I was sick. I would have like, I'm sorry, we got to go eat in the crew mess hall. The smell down there made me nuts.
And they would not let us order room service. So they cut off room. Yeah, I know. So I literally was like about to jump overboard, and I was like,
how long did that last for you?
Well, you're gonna laugh. So I never actually ever once went down to there.
Of course you didn't. I wouldn't expect you to, Sarah.
So you're gonna laugh what I did. So I don't know if you know. Do you know he's a comedian that does the headliners? Cody Dove. He and I pretended to be a husband and wife couple. He snuck into the garden for every meal. Oh, I know. You would have been right there. We've been like,
I would have been the sister wife.
Married.
We're from Utah, and I'm their sister wife. So how long did you keep up this this pretense before?
For 2 weeks, and we were just so relieved that we had the same, that we were stuck there together, because you know, it could have gone wrong. I mean,
wait a second. Were you stuck on the ship? Like, were you stuck on the ship? And did anybody get sick with it on the ship?
No, I don't think anybody had ever, even in Norwegian, there was not one case of Corona on Norwegian when they shut down. They didn't even have one case of it on any of their cruises.
Even across the world?
On any of them. They had not had one passenger get sick. Actually, the government shut down the cruise ports, so they had to get all the passengers off. So it was 2 weeks of like, yeah, I know, it was crazy. So it was 2 weeks of us being like in limbo. We knew that it was going in the direction of like all the ships being shut down. And then Cody and I are like this couple now.
All in love?
Oh, pretend love. We were
hilarious.
Like, it was like a Thursday, and we were coming into my Orlando, and they told us we canceled the cruise. We're not taking any more passengers.
Oh, wow. Because March 13th is when New York City, that was my last show in, live performance in New York City. So you're on the cruise, March 13th, you pull into Orlando, and everybody has to disembark.
We, the crew, were not allowed to leave the ship.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. It was a nightmare. I mean, we weren't even allowed to get off the ship to go buy like supplies or anything. Yeah, it was really scary. I mean, that was when I started getting really anxious. And
how long?
We were effectively canceled, right? Our jobs were done. We were canceled. However, we weren't allowed to leave. And thankfully, because of the fact that I'm not employed by NCL, comedians as well as us, the entertainers, we were able to say, you can't legally hold us. So we went to the Bahamas for a couple days, and then basically all of our agents kind of at the same time were working to, our agents for Howl were working actually with like headliners, agents. Everybody was working together, and they basically told the cruise line they had no choice. They had to let us off. We're not employed.
God.
We're not employed by Norwegian. So we got off like 3 or 4 days after they let that last group of passengers off.
Right.
And I think the crew that was employed by Norwegian, they stayed on the ship for like 3 more weeks.
Oh man, isn't it weird? It's like a ghost ship to be on a ship without passengers. I did it from Nova Scotia all the way down the East Coast. And of course we hit bad weather, and it was just the employees and entertainers. So we went from Nova Scotia all the way down to Martinique, and it's so weird being on a ship without passengers. Like, it's kind of creepy and scary. At least it was for me. Fun.
The crew kind of takes over the ship, but yeah, it is really weird because the ships are so big, and you're laying in a cabin at night, and it's like creaking and moving, and it's just like this really. I really love it because I love the sea. I definitely have that nautical bone in me.
I thought I did too.
I guess I'm. Oh, that's funny.
Have you been performing in front of audiences? Like, what are you doing to keep your musical chops up? Not that you need any practice, because you are. The fact that you can play songs on request for 4 hours and keep sounding, with your gravelly, crazy voice. Like, what have you been doing?
So, okay, really bizarre how the album kind of took over when everything else kind of stopped. I had written this album in about January-ish, and I had like 2 or 3 weeks. I went home in between cruise contracts. I went home. I had, told this producer, he worked as an engineer, and I produced the album. He helped me engineer it. I was kind of just like, we have to get this album done. We have 3 weeks. I gotta leave. We gotta do this. I gotta leave. We gotta do this. And I wrote this album. February, I went home, and like early February, I was like, I had like a couple weeks or something like that, like 2 weeks. Right. I gotta make a whole album. Ready, set, go. Here's some money. Let's do it. And he was just like, oh my word, And
wait, did you throw him your tip jar? Because you had like a stripper tip. I mean, you had like $15,000 in ones. You were like, here's a couple of bucks. And I was like, hold on.
It's like a stripper.
Yes.
After the show, we like go out with a broom and like get the ones off the ground. It's really funny. Yeah, no, I paid him actually a lot in cash.
Hilarious.
I like literally paid him like the bank in cash. And I was like, let's make this album, ready, set, go. And he's very overwhelmed by the whole thing. And I was like, oh, this is nothing. And we worked like 15 hours a day for like 2 weeks straight. And we made this album.
Well, can I just say that song, Dear Grandpa, is so beautiful. Like, it gave me, I call it the Chaka Khan chills when you hear a song and you're just like, wow, it really touched me. Thank you. I love supporting the military. And I just thought it was a lovely, incredible tribute. So we have to wrap. I mean, see, I told you, if I didn't keep a timer on, we would be yapping and yapping and yapping. But tell everybody where they can follow you, and also where they can get the album again.
Yes. So the album is the Surrender album. It's about surrendering to God. That was kind of my passion going into it, the motive behind it. It's sarahangelmusic.com. That's Sarah with an H, angelmusic.com. And that's my handle pretty much for everything. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, anywhere that you want to find me, it's at Sarah Angel Music. So sarahangelmusic.com. You can buy the first single, and then also pre-purchase the album starting on Wednesday. You've
inspired me to work on my album. I'm just so excited for you. I see bigger things. Sarah, again, thank you for coming on Flip the Switch. It's been fabulous catching up with you.
Thank you for having me, Marla. I can't wait to see what you do next too. I love keeping up with you.
Same here. Mwah.
Mwah.